what are some things you're doing in that workout to link everything back to what you guys are doing as a club and as a team with your style of play?
I think that individual workout is something you do before the practice, at the end of the practice, or in the morning. But the individual workout, in terms of improvement of the player, you have to do also during the practice. And I think all these situations, they must be linked in the vision of the youth coordinator and the coach about the player. For example, if I have a guy that now play a 4 and he want to improve his skills because at high level, he must be a 3 to play high level, no sense to work in that point of, maybe just good in post move and continue to work in post moves. Maybe it's better to work in ball handling, pull-ups, attacking closeout, and start to have again zero to play pick and roll situation. So he become more an handler than a screener, okay? And then we go to the practice of the team. So we must have a coherence in this. So it cannot be the screener. He continued to have the ball in her hands. And so when we start the practice with a 2 against 0, 3 against 0, playing pick and roll situation, he start to play with another teammate, what we practice in individual workout. And then we arrive to the 2-on-2, the 3-on-3, and we continue to develop this concept. Okay, so, and maybe the big man, the guy that screen, we work on his balance in the individual practice. And I spoke with the physical coach to say, hey man, you have to work on his balance when he screen because his legs are not wide enough and he don't have balance, or maybe he's afraid of contact. And then this is linked to what I will correct in the team practice. And then we arrive to the game. In the game, the guy played 3, not 4. He continue to work on himself. Okay, so I think individual development without a proper link to in what you are doing with your team and with the club, okay, because also it's important the vision of the club. Maybe I remember when there was one tall kid, but I saw in the future he could be a guard. I immediately say to my players, he have to play with the ball in his hand. I don't care if he lose the ball every time. He have to be the playmaker of the team, and we will lose game. Because in the youth teams, it's not about winning. It's about how they improve. And we have every time to struggle with this because sometimes clubs want to win in youth. So that's why we go back to the first point. It is very important, the communication between the youth coordinator, so the technical part, and the management, because we have to set the goals and to sign a contract of stay on these goals. We cannot change ideas when we lose 2 games because our best prospect play with the ball in his hand and he lose the ball, and in 2 years maybe he will be a top level prospect because we give the ball in his hands. Okay, I think everything is linked when we talk about youth.
It would be great if you could just introduce your coaching background.
Yes, I grew up in Parma. I started to coach immediately at 19 years old. I started with a local club called Magic. Then I go to Basket Parma. There was a top club for women basketball that won 9 championships. In Parma, we had Cinzia Cooper, that was the Michael Jordan of women basketball. So big tradition. And so they really raised me up and changed my mind in terms of mentality and to be a real professional. Then I went to the Siena. That was the best club in Italy by far, winning 7 championships in a row, making EuroLeague Final Four. So it was really a big step for me that completely changed my way of see basketball now to another level. Then I went to Rome. That was that became in that years one of the best youth program in Europe, making EuroLeague under 18 finals, winning Italian championship, and then I built my youth sector with my ideas in Trieste. When I wasn't like a coach, but I was the youth coordinator of all the youth sector, so I can make all the things that I learned in 12 years. I can put on the court and in everything outside the court in Trieste club. And now I'm in Monaco as a consultant and in individual development coach. And on the other side, I'm also I'm in national team environment from 6 years. My friend and mentor Antonio Bocchino, he called me as assistant in under 16. I made 2 European championship, and now I have a national team with the 2005 generation. And also work with Nike, so Antetokounmpo camp, Jordan brand. Yeah, so
just throw that in there. You work for Nike.
Yes.
Great stuff, Ale. So I want to look at firstly like Italian basketball, and obviously I've taken a lot of ideas from Italy, so many great coaches, but what do you think it is which makes, the coaching in Italy just as good and high level that it is?
I think is 2 things. That in Italy, if you see in a lot of sports, you have great coaches. I think we have a good mentality in terms of finding solution for problems, and we want to win. We like to win, and we like to be leaders. So if you see all the sports, you have a lot of good Italian coaches. And then in Italy, we were blessed to have guys like Ettore Messina, before of him, Sandro Gamba. We have some incredible minds that, and Messina is, I think, he maybe is the best Italian coach of all time that really make all the coaches in Italy much better, sharing his philosophies and these ideas.
I guess, yeah, having a coach like Messina, who everyone kind of really looks up to, and just, what he's done in terms of the ideas and what he's been able to do at the top level of basketball, I guess that's pretty inspirational for coaches to aspire to that.
Yes, for sure.
So let's look at some of the great concepts that you introduced at Trieste. I mean, I met you, I think it was when you were going into your last 2 or 3 seasons at Trieste. So they'd become an established program then. You were producing a lot of players, performing really well within the national divisions of Italian basketball. What were some ideas that you learned in those previous 12 years of coaching that you took to Trieste, you made your own, and you implemented to create a successful program?
I think that the first thing the thing that are important for me that I bring in Trieste are, first of all, and I was lucky because the organization of the youth of Trieste, the management was a very, very good management. So from the first day there was a good communication, and there was a great goals. We set the goals together. And this is so basic, but in a lot of clubs I see that in the youth there is not this communication. That is the first thing, is the first step. So to understand the goals of the management, and so this is the first thing. So great communication with the management, understand the goals. The goals were increase the basement of the guys playing basketball in our club. That when we started was around 90, and when I left Trieste last season, we were 400. And then the other thing was to create players from the high level. And I think in the 4 years I was youth coordinator in Trieste, 15 players joined the court of first and second division in Italy. 15 players. Yes. Also, because of I was lucky because the coach of the first team wanted to push young players. So this a mix. So they had me, and then the head coach of the first team also helped me putting players in the first team. So at the end, this was the start. And I think the keys of a good youth sector is the character of the youth coordinator. The youth coordinator must be present every day. You have to create a culture. I think most people look at youth like youth teams. No, they are youth players. It's different. Coaching at youth level, especially for me as a coordinator, when I was coordinator, the key is to see every player and try to put him to the best level he can reach. And then they have to share, the players, the coaches, the same culture. And I saw you also in Alex, what you do in elite athletes. You, Joeric, is the same idea. So you have all the people inside is a big family, and everybody have to share the same culture. This is the key. It's not about what you do on the court. Then what you do in the court is a consequence, in my opinion. And as a youth coordinator, you have to know which player you want to see on the court. I mean, if you have a good youth sector, you can recognize the player for the way he acts outside of the court and inside of the court without having the t-shirt of the club. How he acts, how he behaves, how he plays. For example, in Trieste, I wanted a player very good in player without the ball. So why I wanted that? Because I wanted a player at the end of the trip, he was able to play in senior because he was able to pass the ball, to understand the game, to be smart, and then to play very aggressive in defense. Because if you are a youth player, at one point at 17, 18, you go to the first team. If you don't play our defense, the head coach will never play you. And also you cannot practice with them because probably they are better than you. So you must be a great defender, and you must be a smart player. They want smart players. So this
That's awesome. There's a lot to unpack there. I just want to go back to building the program up to 400 players. How did you oversee those 400 players with the fact that you said you want to focus on individual development of each individual coming through the program?
Yes.
How did you then oversee that and manage that?
I think when you look about a program, a youth program, you have to look at it like a pyramid. The quality arrives from the quantity. So from the quantity, then you have the quality. So, but if you want quantity, you have to offer something to the people, to your young guys. So you have to offer good instructors, good youth coaches for the babies, for 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. So you have to have good coaches. In fact, in Trieste, we had a youth coordinator, and then we have a responsible of mini basket. Mm. And me and this guy that Alex knows is my friend Davide Pensabene. We really worked together from the first day, and so the concept, the mentality, the way we play, everything was like a process. Okay, started when they have 7 years old, and the technical part and the physical part started when they are young. If you work in the right way, in the basement, so when in the mini basket, so and then you organize events, and then you go to school, and then you try to attract more young players that you can. then you start to become a good program for the early ages. And then if you have a good social media platform, if in the events the people around see the way you work, then they come. And then the other thing is to organize also different small centers. Every school can have one center of mini basket, and then you can have another small center outside of the town. And then you have your main center when you have a lot of young guys. And then from this quantity, step by step, is a stats. I mean, more players you have, more possibility you have to find the talents. Then you have talents, and then with talents you can compete. And then it's a circle, no? Then people see you can compete, you create players, and then they come to you when they are very young. And so you continue. And still Trieste is continuing, because for me, as a coordinator, it's not important to show. I think to make a good job with the youth, you have to think about the future. You don't have to think now. You have to build a structure. You don't have to think about the team, winning one games. You have to build a structure and to give continuity to the club.
It sounds like you have some great alignment between the youth section of the club and the senior section. So you talked about having those players go through the pyramid and then into the senior program. How do you guys create the alignment and the culture where that happens? Because I've seen at other clubs that's a real struggle, and it's hard to get the youth program and the senior program on the same page. I've seen it done successfully as well, but I'd like to know your ideas about how you go about doing that.
First of all, you need a lot of work. First of all, you need a real coordinator. I think a lot of clubs, they have coaches, but they don't have a real coordinator, a person with experience that you invest on him. So you have a professional of youth, and then he knows how to deal with people. Because at the end, to create this alignment that is really hard, like you said, you have to talk every day with the senior coach. Mm-hmm. And in my experience, what I suggest to the clubs is that for me, there is a responsible of mini basket. Then there is a youth coordinator that make a technical decision until under 16. Then for me, in under 18, so in the last moment of the youth, my suggestion is to have the same principle of the first team. This is the first step. We play the same, maybe I think differently, and I'm the coach of under 18, but in this moment, if you want really to have an alignment, you have to play the same sets. You have to have the same defensive principles, because then the youth guys can be important in the senior practices. And then the players will not have problems to join the senior practice, because they just know the principles. They know the sets. Sometimes you have the problem that the guys go and they don't know the sets. I think this is a mistake. They have to go and know which defense they have to share the same concepts, because in my opinion, why I do this, I think this is the right way. Because for me, under 18 players without a connection with the first team, they are losing time. Playing only and also they need these practices with the senior team, because they makes them ready when they will finish. If they will only stay in the youth and then at one point they go directly to the senior teams, will be tough for them, because it's another world. There is a lot of things you have to understand step by step.
That's fantastic insight, Ale, and I think you see so many problems with clubs where not only is the U18 side of things not connected to the senior team, but from each age group, players maybe have a different coach as they move from under 14s to under 16s, some under 16s to 18s, and they have a completely new style or system of play that they have to learn. And obviously that's where, like you said, having these shared concepts and a really clear vision for the whole club is so important. So especially for the younger age groups at Trieste, Ale, looking at like under 14s and under 16s, and your ideas for those age groups, what do you think are the most important things to be emphasizing at U14 and take over to U16, especially offensively?
Okay, one thing I link to what you said before is that for me, if there's no alignment between the coaches, it's a waste of time, because the youth are not the senior. The youth is not 1 year I coach the guy and he will learn everything. He will learn 40%. So I think to make the youth player really be able to do some things in terms of technical or tactical understanding of the game, he needs 2-3 years. For me, you need 3 years to learn some principles. So I come back to your question. Is a process. You start with, for me, from mini basketball to under 13 is the player and the ball. So I want a very small kid that young kid that know everything. Right, left, different finishing, good technique in the shoot, good, okay, maybe not like old, but start to have the right technique. So I spend all these years to build the confidence with the ball. I want everybody to dribble and be ready to drive and to play fast break. So fast break and one-on-one with the ball. Then, when you arrive to 14, 15, 16, if you have a player that know how to handle the ball, you can continue the development of him and the ball individually. So in individual practice, before the practice, at the end of the practice, you will never stop to improve individually. But when you are with the team, you completely focus on play without the ball, play dynamic, play understanding the games. And for me, then depend on the level of the team, but in average, considering average level, for me, until under 16, I like to play without screens, everybody inside, everybody outside, because I want playing always fast break, because I want the player continue to grow. Because I want, when he will be under 18, then he have 2 years to have the same sets of the first team, so he start to learn as a consequence of play without the ball. There are the screens of the ball, and then you play screen on the ball. I think everything is linked. You cannot play a pick and roll if you cannot play without the ball, because for me, a correct pick and roll for a level is a pick and roll that we play in 5 players. So I need to have to build, before to play pick and roll, all the readings about triangles, play without the ball, cut, seal inside, play with a guy inside, and I build the individual skills like dribble forward, dribble back against an edge, for example. So I think everything is linked, is a process.
Fantastic. And I mean, something I've been doing here at Elite Academy, we obviously, you visited us back earlier in the year, and we spent some great days just talking through ideas. And something we've done to create that alignment is have some technical documents for our coaches where everything is outlined. So it's a whole kind of curriculum. So there's complete alignment through the age groups, so that we know kind of when players leave under 14s, these are the skills they have, i.e. dynamic 1v1. When they get to under 16s, they'll be good at these skills. And then we kind of reinforce it by having people like yourself come in, Ale, to give these coaching clinics and really just consolidate the program. But what were some ways you created this alignment at Trieste? Like, obviously you weren't coaching like the U14s team, you had your own teams, and you weren't always able to get to all of the practices. So was it a lot of conversations, or how did you do it?
I think something that not all, I think a lot of clubs they're not doing is okay. First of all, they don't have a coordinator. That is, and if you cannot pay a guy to be a coordinator, you have to have like 2-3 coaches that together decide how we play in our club. The first thing I did when I was in Trieste was to be me, the responsible of mini basket, and the best coach I had in that time. There was Sandro De Paul, there was a former player. We stayed 4 hours in this room and we decide every aspect of the game, of the club. How we want to dribble, how we want to slide, the technique we want to anticipate the ball, to deflect the ball in defense, the technique we want to help, where we want to help, how we want to space. So first of all, I think is communication and share and decide all together how we want to play. I think the best is not if one guy decides. We have to have like a council of the most important coaches in the club and decide how we want to play. Then an important thing that a lot of clubs they are not doing is to have meetings. Every month we had a technical meeting with the coaches. So I was responsible of coaching the coaches. Some guys like Bazzarini, he was, when he started, he was a young coach with not so much experience. Now 5 years later, he's a coach that have 2 national finals, winning regional titles, very good in improving players, sending players to national teams. So the key is to create coaches. Is the same pyramid. You have to search people that love basketball in the town, and then you have to start to teach them how your ideas about basketball, and then is meetings. And then you remember when I was in Trieste, I was every day in the gym with my coaches. So maybe I wasn't my teams wasn't practicing, but I was there to see how they coach. And then at the end of the practice, we always had a talk about what he did good, what he can do better, what you have to improve. And this is like a step by step. It's like you do with the players. So it's a process. And then the other thing I did that is the same that you guys are doing in elite academies. I think this is very important, is to bring basketball minds in your club. So I had Alba Berlin coordinator. I had Bayern Munich under 16. I had Ulm. I had the Sweden national team with my friend Michael Brie. Then I had you, Alex, come and you share with them your ideas. So always have international experiences, and then organizing tournaments inside the club, outside of the club, with other way of play, not Italian when I was in Italy, but go outside, and so the coaches start to think about basketball, start to open their mind, and then you create coaches that can have success. So this I think is the way I think is the best to create this basketball culture.
So to go back to those coaching meetings where you're talking about developing a style of play, were there disagreements amongst the staff? And if so, like, how welcoming were you to like those kind of challenges? And then how did you navigate that situation?
No, I think it's the way you see the disagreement. I think like Popovich say that he want disagreement in his staff, and I think the same. I mean, if we are 10 coaches and we think about basketball, then we have to decide something. It's normal that what probably I think is different than what another coach think. But then we discuss. From this discussion, we really become like we know the topic. If we start to discuss and have different ideas about one topic, we start to have really, what can I say, the idea about what we are talking, and we become stronger. We can we can improve having disagreement. So I always in this meeting say to the coach, please tell me what you think. And then at the end, obviously, I was the responsible. So if there was a 50-50 situation, I decide the way we want to play. But then if I change my decision from the beginning, the fact that one coach wasn't on the same page of mine was good, because make me understand that the right choose was his choose, not mine. If I stay with my ideas, talking with the coach that have other idea, and makes my think about this topic stronger. And if I decide to stay with my concept, I go out of the meeting with more strength about that. So I think communication and talk is always good.
Yeah, it sounds like you're creating a really powerful learning environment, not just for your players, but for your coaches as well.
Yes, I think it's the key. Because then you go on the court and the players follow us. And it was very important also the physical coach. Physical coach was super important, because now you have to work technical and physical at the same time. I think is something that go. And so also we had physical meeting with the physical coach, because sometimes the physical coach cannot stay with all the teams. So he coached the coaches and give to them protocols, what they have to do when he's not able, because maybe he's working with another team. So the coaches then be able to do things also physical, because if you have a good physical coach, he can teach them.
Awesome.
So, Ale, I mean, you started the program producing a lot of great players locally, and then I think once you start doing a good job with that program, it's natural that other players throughout the country or from abroad start to become interested. Agents start calling you. How did you go about that recruitment process of getting players from outside Trieste into the program? How did you find them, and how did you pick players that you think would do well and be able to potentially become professional players in the senior team?
I think first of all, recruitment for all the people, for all the clubs that want to start recruitment, I say the first suggestion is be careful, because when you recruit minors, and then when a lot of people when they think about recruitment, they think about the court. The court is the last part of recruitment. Recruit a minor, recruit a player, a young player means that you recruit one person, one young kid, that he still have to grow, and so he need a family. So you have to be ready to have an environment with housing, with proper eating, with schools, with helping about schools. So you have to be ready to put the person before the athlete. So this is the first thing, because if you recruit and you don't have this, you can recruit the best player of the world, but he will not perform, because at this age, when you take one player outside of his family, it's such a trauma for him. For everybody of us, if at 15 years old, you are in another country with other culture, with other rules, another world. If you don't have a family ready to stay with you, to help you, to make you understand why you have new rules and why you are here and what we are doing, you need it's tough. I mean, okay. And so the first thing would be I create with also Sergio Jankovic, that was the vice president of Trieste, we created an environment that was like a family. And this is the first thing also that you can say to people when you want to recruit. Then this year I had in Monaco, close to us, there was the Monaco Soccer Academy that built amazing players like Trezeguet, Thierry Henry, Mbappé. Mbappé now is maybe the future best player of soccer in the world. And I spoke with them, and they say to me that the person is the most important thing. So they built a school and the restaurant inside the academy. And so they have 62 adults with 60 players. So this, I think, is the key of recruitment. So have something ready to make the guy grow. And then I think is important. If you have this, if you have good coaches, people will see how you work, and then you start to talk around, and then you can recruit players. Two important suggestions for recruitment are: one, don't recruit one player only because he's good now. It's much better to have a real prospect. It's better to have a real prospect that maybe now is in late, but you can play for the top. So you are working, and if your eyes see right, and you have the real prospect, then you can really have fun, and you can really have then all the people look at your organization. So first of all, search real prospect. Second thing is, when you recruit the person, because he can be the best prospect of the world, but if he's not stable in his mind, if he's not like, if he maybe he don't like basketball so much. And what is very hard in recruitment is that happened to me that I was with one guy, and I see, okay, now I sit with him because I don't want to recruit a guy that don't want to do everything for basketball. And you look at my eyes and say, I will do everything for basketball. And then the guy, in 6 months later, he said to me, maybe I don't want to be a basketball player. So it's really hard to understand. I made one mistake one time. So when you recruit, you have to be really, really precise. You have to spend time to call 10 coaches that know him. You have to talk with the family. You have to talk with him a lot. It's not about, okay, he's good, he jump, he dunk, he seems a nice guy. And because then, to be a basketball player, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So if you don't really love the game, at one point you give up. So and when you invest in one player, and then he want to give up, is a problem. I was lucky that time because it was a loan, so we didn't spend money on this guy. But when he talked with me, this guy, I really believe in him. But it was my fault because I had to. I called 2 coaches. I have to call 10 coaches. I have to know more about him. You have to go really deep because when you choose one player, then this player will stay with you for a lot of time.
That's awesome. Yeah, recruitment can be a challenge, especially when professional setup, there's high stakes and a lot of money's invested on a kid, and then there's always the risk that they're going to say to you one day, yep, I don't enjoy it anymore. And yeah, as long as you're investing in the person, which is kind of what I took away from what you just said, that's the most important thing, is treating them as a person before the athlete. So let's move on to national team stuff now. Love to know your experiences with the under 14s Italian national team and how that all worked out, because I think that's a kind of unusual setup. I'm not sure if other countries are having national teams at that sort of age group, so it'd be awesome to hear what the ideas behind that was.
Under 14, in Italy we always did under 14. The difference was that last year we really built a team to play one tournament. There was Slovenia ball in Slovenia with other 8 international national teams. Under 14 is very important because you start to is the first scouting of the nation. Okay, it's the first time that we scout all the nation. And first of all, every region there is a tournament where every region play against another region, and they select 12 players. And the national team coaching staff and also the coordinator of the national teams, we look of all these players, and then we select from this group 48 players that come divided in 3 groups: North, South, and center of Italy. So we have 3 different camps of 3 days with 16 players each. And at the same time, there are other 48 players, 50 more or less, that they will not be part of these camps, but we really put the lights on them. Okay, so the most important thing is to start to have 100 names that you start to follow during the years. And then last year, from these 48, we arrived to 16 players. And with these 16 players, then we create the team of 12 that play in the Slovenia ball. And last year we made a good tournament, and we took the bronze medal. My approach with this experience was to do something for my country in terms of basketball. So I didn't want to think the national team as a way to show myself, but I wanted to be something in the same line of my values increase, because inside myself I wanted always to raise people. I like to raise people. I like to do something for the others. It's something inside me. So when I approached to this, I wanted to give something to these guys, and maybe that these guys can come back home and maybe share these values with their teammates. And so I focus on in these 3 days, and then for the other guys in 10 days of work, to give to them the idea of hard work, the idea that to reach your dream, you need to work more than the other. You have to love the game, and so the idea of extra work. And I learned this from all the camps that I was lucky to do with the Jordan brand, because when I was in Jordan brand and you stay 3-4 days, all the Jordan way is that they really make you for 3 days like stay inside the Michael Jordan life. So they really teach you that he become the best because of his talent, but because he can work more and more instead of respect the others. And then when I went with junior NBA in Orlando, and it's the same, because you have Grant Hill, Dwayne Wade talking, and they give this message to the young guys. And so this experience make me understand that I could do the same in national team. So I make leadership games. I share these ideas during the practices, because I wanted them not to go back home and think I'm the best because at 14 years old I have national team. I have the gear of national team. They have to think, okay, I like this jersey. I want to have another one. I want to work hard because I want to improve and to stay at this level. So this was my first goal. In terms of technique, I wanted to give to them the idea to share the ball, to play without the ball, to play with cats, to move without the ball, because all these good players, when they are young, they play only with the ball. So they have always the ball in their hand and they create with the ball. So I want to them at this level to understand that to be very good, they must be work on play smarter, that only dribble with 4 players looking at you and just try to drive to have a score close to the basket.
That's great insight, Alan. I think, like you said, in a national team, you don't have that much time to prepare. So if you're going in there and trying to give so much like technical, tactical info, what you said there in terms of giving them like the growth mindset, showing them how to work, that's actually powerful things which are really going to help them in their careers. But then obviously the basketball stuff you're doing, it's setting them up for success, giving them those habits. So when you looked at that tournament that you had with the group in Slovenia, I mean, I watched some of the games and it was great basketball to see. What did success as a team look like for the group? Was it looking and for converting some of those dynamic 1v1 situations, or kind of what structure were you putting in? I know you relied a lot on transition, and you guys were really successful there, but just some insight on that tournament would be great.
Yes, I wasn't a real challenge because I had only 10 days, and usually at this age I like to play free. But like I said before, to play not free in terms of everybody do what they want. I like to play with principles. I like to play not with exact place where the play have to stay, where the players have to stay. Okay, but I like that the player use all the court and sharing principles. Play with the other, play one-on-one with the ball and without the ball, okay? But when I have only 10 days, this is impossible, because to play like this type of reading, you need 2 years, like I said, 3 years. So I try to use some concept. So first of all, I decided that I wanted to play big. We wanted to have a big national team, sharing also with the guys ahead of me, that we have to take the guy interesting for future. And so we wanted always one big man of more than 2 meters and 14 years old on the court. So we say to him to stay to be the rim runner, so to stay in the middle. And then the other 4 guys, they play outside. And then if the 5, we use 5, but it wasn't a 5. If the big man arrived the first, he was inside, and the other guys have some simple concept to play without the ball. If he was in the back, so he take the rebound and he outlet, then we play with the cut from the weak side to share the ideas of play dynamics and play without the ball. And then when the big man arrives, he can swing the ball and then play without the ball. So the idea was to leave a bit them free to play one-on-one with the ball, but to have few principles to share the ball and start and play movement and play with a lot of cuts. But wasn't easy. I mean, they were young and not so much time, but at the end, we did something interesting. But the real challenge is to pick only few things and to work in these few things. If you try to work in 10 things, at the end they don't understand nothing. They only go in confusion. So it's better to pick few things, to work with the intensity, to make a good defense, to go in fast break, and then when you are half court, a few principles just to have a good spacing and to play without the ball.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Paused. Did there work direction to go after that?
That's great insight. I think we got a few more minutes, Ash, so I don't know what direction you want to take it in.
We could maybe ask something specific about Dynamic 101.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Well, how would you like me to phrase
it? Or guys, if you want another interesting thing, we talk about individual development.
Okay, just like as a holistic, yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Because Dynamic 101, without the papers or without the videos, it starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are going to philosophy. too philosophical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so would you mind sharing some ideas about how you go about developing individuals?
I think everything starts from what we said before, that the person is before the athlete. I remember last week one guy asked to me in a clinic online. He asked to me, I have a guy that is not very good in school and he has a family problem. How do you suggest to me to act with him on the court? And I say to him, if you want him to be good on the court, start to help him with school and with his family. So when I work individually, I care about the person, the kid or also the senior guy, in starting from his habits. If we think about LeBron said that the first thing for him, he's sleeping. And if you read the Novak Djokovic book, he said that when he starts to understand the right things he can eat, he starts to win titles. So I think now to really improve one player, you have to make him to be in condition to have energy and to have quality on the court. So this is the first step, to increase the quantity of work he can do without getting injured, and the energy he can have when he practices. So I usually start from what they eat, because what they eat, and not I use professionists like nutritionists. So we start to go deep in what they can do to improve, and then I like that because then they have to think what they have to eat, and then they have to think how much they sleep, and so they start to invest in basketball. So if I like chocolate, but my nutritionist say you cannot eat chocolate, I start to make small sacrifices. So when I go to the court, when I come to the court, I'm ready to practice harder because I spend all day preparing this moment. So this is the first step I want my players to do. So it's a mental and physical step. Then I start to work to make him understand the importance of work more. So my goal is that he have to be like addicted to work. He have to ask me, can we practice tomorrow at 6 before the school? Can we practice at the end of the practice of the team practice? Can we practice before? He have to like, because then when you start to make sacrifice, practice more, see the results, then he wants more and more and more and more. And this is the key to become a top player.